Well, welcome to another episode of Cranes and All, and with me is Jim Sharp. And Jim, welcome to the show. And Jim owns and drives the old crane that's sitting behind us, an AEC, and a Tadano crane sitting on the back of it. So Jim, when did you get hold of this?
Maybe about 15 years ago. I bought it off Kerr Construction. It had been parked up a while. They'd sold out to Atlas Cranes.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So we got it going on the road, and yeah.
Excellent news. So what was it like to start off with? All spick and span, or did you have to do much to it?
No, it was pretty good. I had a bit of a problem with an exhaust manifold, and after that it was all okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so do you have to have a certificate for this every year?
Yeah, the truck part has a COF every 6 months, and the crane has an annual survey. It's the same people who do the lifts and everything, cranes and everything. So.
Oh, okay, right. I just noticed just behind the cab there, you've got a hell of a lot of dunnage, I think they called it back on the wharf, timber bits. What's all that for?
That's for levelling up on site. Some of the sites you're expected to work on, you've got to get yourself jacked up level. Cranes need to be level to operate. You get a weight hanging right out the end of your jib. It takes a bit of pushing around, not like a digger, you can pull it in and shift it.
Oh, okay, yeah, right.
Yeah. I've been on jobs where I've had the front wheels that high, you could walk under them and
all on timber?
Yeah, stacked up under them. Wow. Yeah, it is.
So is there a leveler on the truck, or do you have to do it with a level?
Most of them have a level. The original one on this was not working, so I just used an ordinary level.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, do it sideways first and then the other way.
Oh, okay. So you enjoy this?
Love it, yeah.
Yeah, good on you.
You get out and meet all sorts of people and all sorts of different jobs. So.
Yeah, so you're not doing the same thing every day, it's something completely different.
I'm an expert at everything from the driver's seat.
Yeah, we spoke to a bloke called David Sale. He lives in Levin. And his opinion of driving a crane is you're better off than a guy that's out there in the rain sort of doing this. You're better off than this bloke, that bloke. And he says, I'll do anything for anybody as long as I'm sitting on my ass doing it.
Yeah. The most common comment is, I hope your cab leaks.
Now what we're going to do now, folks, is a bloke called Haggis. He lives in Whangarei. And you might remember the crane we took some photographs off down south of Levin, which is exactly the same as this, except there's a Leyland on the front of it. It's got a Tadano crane on it as well. So we'll talk to Haggis, and then we'll get Jim in the cab and we'll kick this thing in the guts and see how it all works. Well, with me is Haggis, and Haggis, welcome to our little show. And I understand in the 80s you had something to do with one of these. There's one parked up just south of Levin. It's not an AEC, it's a Leyland, but it's got a Tadano crane on it, and it looks exactly the same as this. So
yeah,
tell us a little about that.
Yeah, I worked for Carlton's in the 80s, and I was one of the youngest drivers I had, and I learned to drive as a really young teenager in my dad's engineering yard in Katikati. But
so when you first got in the crane, did somebody sort of show you what everything done and then left you on your own, or did they sort of give you with you for a week, or how did you sort of learn the skill?
Well, I had a crane driver's ticket before I got onto the hydraulic cranes, because I learnt on the strut boom cranes made of all the lattice triangles.
Oh yes.
And I got my crane ticket with those. And then when I went to Carlton's, there's two things happened. There's a wonderful old bloke called Richie Tate. He's gone now. He was a real ho-tu-tu, real character, and he drove this thing, and I learnt with him. And he's one of these guys, you can tell what is in by the angle of his smoke. You can see what mood he was in. and he showed me a few things, and it was wonderful, and rode with Richie for a bit. And then I also rode in a Kato with an old fella called Ron Williams. And Ron was an ex-World War II Navy guy, was on the Achilles in the Battle of the River Plate. And he reminded me of an excessively refrigerated Christmas chocolate. He was hard and crunchy and sharp on the outside and gooey as anything in the middle. You know those guys?
Yeah.
And deadpan humour. Humour as anything but a real hard man. hard man, but a fair man and a good man, and he made sure that I learned how to splice, and I wasn't allowed in the cab until I could do a beautiful job of an eye splice, a back splice, and a short marry splice. Then I was allowed to
With
drive.
wire rope.
With this hemp rope for starters, and in my life I've only ever spliced two ends of wire rope, and that's two more than I ever want to do again.
Yeah, you know, it's pretty tough. Yeah, and that's fit in there. Yeah.
Swear words help.
Yeah, so this is hydraulic. I guess the one
Yeah.
you were driving was hydraulic. So you've got 5 levers, I think, or 4.
4 up in the cab there.
Yeah, so makes it do that, makes it do that, makes it do that, makes it do that, I guess.
And that, yeah.
Yeah. And then you've got the, the legs out there
Yep.
that stick out.
Outriggers.
And there is a slight technicality with the legs that look like that at the back. Tell us about that.
They can give you what's politely called an unpleasant surprise, and these ones, like the 40-ton P&H's, they go out of a slot and there's a pivot point, and then they actually scissor down with the jacks in the body of the crane. But that means when you get down towards the bottom of your reach, as well as going down, they're actually pulling in a bit, and your pile of blocks would pull in, and you start to get daylight and a bit of rock and roll. And when you've got a machine like this up in the air and some hook on, a load on the hook, and people underneath it, having that beautiful ballet moves is not a happy moment.
So tell me, it's called a boom.
Yep.
It's called a boom,
Yep.
but everybody who's in the crane's called it a stick.
Yeah. These things are a bit scary though, because when you the slew and the winch can backfeed, and I had a couple of unpleasant surprises, and Jim just reminded them, because I haven't driven these since 19, and I remember that if you did something wrong, and Jim's more expert at this, I think it's the winch. If you feather off the winch, the oil back feeds into the slew, and you're just edging along, and then away she goes, and give you a surprise, and brown trousers to some of the folks around the hook, and it's scary. These things are scary because you've got a huge responsibility. You've got people sometimes under the hook, sometimes on the hook, the man cage, and I used to take that very seriously because I haven't done it for a while.
No. In the Leyland, and all those old Leylands, when you're changing gear, it's a very slow process, I seem to remember.
Flywheel.
And off you go again, you know. Is that what you remember?
Yeah, I do, and double clutching going down too, because the engine, this one's reasonably powerful, but some of the older ones didn't have as much power. So even when you're spinning up the flywheel in the double clutch in the neutral there to put it in the gear, it took a long time. The flywheel in there is the same size as something in a power station, you know.
Yeah. I just remember a friend of ours who was a Leyland expert, and he just jumped into it, and that whole thing was it's just natural, you know.
Yep.
Most guys, but and you lose it, and you got to stop and start again, you know. But
you could finish a conversation in the gap, you know.
That's right.
And then in she goes, eh?
You can hear them coming for bloody miles. You know?
Click, click, clunk, 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 in we go. Beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, Haggis, what we're going to do is Jim's going to show us around the crane, and we'll kick her in the guts, and we'll have a bit of a lift, and you can be the comments man while he's doing that. And it was invented by a man in Italy who designed this whole cab, the ergomatic cab, and it was designed to sort of be the be all and end all for drivers. Very comfortable, easy to get into, and easy to put the window up and down. Good on you, Jim.
Granddad said you don't have to have dogs and do your own barking, Jim.
No, that's right.
Back to the base.
It's got an open circuit and I added these valves.
Oh, yep.
On the other side,
Yep.
is one of these valves. Can you turn it up?
90 degrees and closer.
Yeah.
So Haggis, what are you doing here? What's your...
Well, the plan is I've given him a hand to put the blocks down to get a good grip on the country.
Yep.
And then this is a very small hole for a very big hook. So what we're going to do is we've got a little wee endless drop here. What I'm going to do is put a shackle through that, and then that gets a good grip on the anchor in the Kelly block here. And then we've got a large loop we can drop over the hook and
Right.
get it off and on, and when he brings the hook down to us. And
So I see he's got it standing almost straight up.
yep.
And that's the biggest capacity. That's where all the
Yeah.
lift is.
Yeah, well, the lift is when it's in close and tucked up. In addition to that, when you're telescoping out, the sliding pads have an easier life if the rams are pushing virtually straight up and down. Otherwise, you're trying to bite the end of the boom off,
Oh, right.
and it's tough on the sliding blocks and shortens the life.
And he's got a winch in behind here.
Yep.
Let's see. What size is that rope? You know.
About the rope, I think, is around about the old half-inch, maybe 5/8
Oh,
in the old money, which could be anything between nothing and a
And I see he's put his extensions up.
yep. Yeah, we got
He's got
the
his
full stick
extensions
out.
up. Yep.
Round we come. We don't need to use crane signals today because Jim can see what's going on.
Right.
Righto. See how good you are, Jim? Yeah, I pretend I've got my hard hat on, but I can trust Jim, and in the yard here it's pretty darn good. He's just pretty close to the top of his luff here. And see how good Jim is. I'll hold it here and see if he can catch it. Yeah, look at that, eh? Beautiful job, Jim.
So 2,580 kilos.
Yep.
How far does he have to lift that for the test to pass?
He's got to take it out to about 8 metres from the centre.
Oh, okay.
8 metres from the centre. But he's got to, when you pick things up, the boom sags a bit because it's bendy like a banana. So
Right.
therefore, when he picks it up, you see it drifts out a bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's okay. What he's going to do, if you get the hook right over it, put a bit of tension on it, then luff up a bit, which is move the boom in the vertical sense, so that you can then get the hook recentered. And he got it pretty darn good for the yard.
Yeah.
Lovely. Nice. That's a good lift. Oh, I haven't heard the sound of those winches like that for ages. There we go. We're in the test zone there. Righto.
So, did he pass the test?
He did a bloody nice job. There was a wee bit too much swing in the left, so he won't get 100%. I'll pull him back to about a 92.
Oh, okay.
But that's still enough to get your ticket, and we'll let him through today.
Tadano have been building cranes since 1956. Tadano is the name in mobile cranes, from 2-axle to 7-axle cranes, as well as track cranes. Tadano, a great choice of crane. So if you're looking for a crane, why not choose Tadano? Tried and true. To find out more, just go to allcrane.co.nz. With me is Tim Elliott from Kepler Motors in Hamilton. And good on you,
Good to
Tim.
see you.
Maybe tell us a little bit about the vehicles you sell.
Right, well, we've got an absolutely amazing range from the GWM Havel product lineup. We start with a small SUV with the Jolian, and we start from that at $27,990 plus on-road costs. We then go through that range. We have 3 models in the Jolian range. We then go into the H6, which is the next size up, your mid-size SUV, and that we actually have 5 models in that range.
Wow.
Yeah, starting from $33,990.
Yeah.
So when you look at the value for money in our range, and we even have right through to a hybrid like our new car behind me here. As well as the SUVs, we have a stunning lineup of the GWM Cannon, which is New Zealand Autocar Magazine's Ute of the Year for 2020.
Wow.
Not only has it come up Ute of the Year because of its build quality, ride quality and safety, now 5-star safety rating in 2021, it is an absolutely amazing package. You don't get the harsh ride that you traditionally get in a ute, but you get all the safety and benefit of having 3-ton towing capacity, up to a ton payload in the back, but also room for your guests in the back of the vehicle if you're taking a few along with you.
With a bit of legroom.
With a bit of legroom and vents in the back so they have actually get a bit of fresh air as well.
Well, that's marvellous. Get hold of Tim and I'm sure he'll look after you.
Look forward to hearing from you.
Fassi, an extraordinary crane manufactured in Italy. The extraordinary breadth of the Fassi range with over 60 models and 30,000 configurations means that the cranes offered can be truly purpose-built, tailor-made to suit the needs of the customer who chooses Fassi products mainly for their quality and fittings. So when choosing a crane, why not choose Fassi? You'll be glad you did. So Jim, first of all, there's a big dial in front of me here, just one big dial, and I guess that relates to what's going on out there. This.
Yeah, that's the tells you how much you're lifting. Around there is the that's on one part.
Yep.
And on the fly jib we have a single rope.
Yep.
And at the moment we're on 4. On 8 parts, it's 8 ton, and on 7 parts, 13 ton.
Oh, right. So that's the maximum list of 13 ton.
Yeah, 13 tons,
Yep.
right in close. There's a chart here which tells you
Sure.
how far out you can go.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've got 4 levers. This one.
That's the slew, left and right.
So forward.
Forward is left,
Yep.
and back to you is right,
Right.
and cab the opposite side, it's the opposite way.
Yep.
So it confuses you when you switch cranes.
And this job.
That's the luff up and down, the jib up and down.
Yep.
Yeah, back to you is up. Down. That's telescoping, which is
Push it how far
Push
out
it
you
out.
want.
Yeah.
And once it's there, I guess you wouldn't have to worry about this one too much.
no.
And this job.
That's the winch.
Oh, okay. So
up
that's
and down on
lifting
the
up.
rope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And you've got the 3 pedals, accelerator, 2 brakes, there's 2 winches. The far one is the winch, auxiliary winch, which you use in the fly jib.
Yep.
The near one's the main winch.
Yep.
And that lever beside you there is a toggle release. You push a bit of weight on the pedal and release the toggle.
Yep.
Forward is the main one. And this side here is engages which there's one winch motor, and you switch between by toggling it, whichever winch you're using at the moment. That's in the main. If you put the fly jib out, you just switch it forward.
Right. So this is, I've said this before, but if you're not feathering the brake, is there any chance of bird nesting?
Not on
road?
not on a hydraulic.
No.
You've got to drive all the
You got to drive it.
Drive
doesn't
it,
go.
yeah,
Fair
yeah.
enough. So it's not
It will-
free fall.
It can free fall, but not very well because it's got a lot of gears to drive.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just see you've got a little gadget on the side of your keys there. What's that?
Well, that's a stop button.
Oh, okay. For the
That's-
truck.
Yeah, that's my invention. You have to have a way of shutting the motor off if something goes wrong. You burst a hose or something, and you got oil pouring everywhere.
Oh, so best to turn it off. And,
It had another thing with a complicated system to get the power down there. It's got an electric stop on it. So I went online and I managed to buy that and the mechanism on the other end for $10.
good on you. How long would it take to sort of master all this? You know, just leave me on my own and let me sort of push the buttons and try not to get into too much trouble?
Yeah, it depends on your mechanical aptitudes and
Oh,
things.
right.
you know,
And the
your-
feel.
your-
I mean,
feel comes
that's
into
feel.
it.
Yeah.
The modern machines, everything.
Haggis was saying, you know, sometimes you can just feel it, you know, sort of.
Yeah, especially if you've learnt in an old lattice strip crane where that's all you had
Right.
was the feel.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, would you sell this? Is this for sale?
It's for sale.
So there you go, folks. If you're looking for a crane to do little jobs around your particular town, you can actually own this. And how old is it?
It's the truck itself's 1970 AEC Mammoth Major, and the crane is, we think it's around 72, 73.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And
there's a
obviously
bit
still
of a
working
mystery.
because you've just lifted
Yeah.
up the.
The biggest battle is corrosion in the,
Right,
in the
right.
panel work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see someone put it in a museum.
Yeah, because
Like
there
its
is
own.
another one. There is another one sort of parked, you know, behind a big shed down past Levin,
Yeah.
and it's almost identical to this, apart from it's a Leyland in the front, and the crane looks very similar. Yeah, but and Haggis is, you know, he had something to do with that back in the 80s. But these have been around a long time. I mean, when did hydraulics start? Do you have any idea?
I think Tadano started in the 60s.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it might have been late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cranes have certainly come a long way. I mean, you see these great big mobile cranes today, you know, with sort of 7, 8 axles, some of them. Yeah. So would this have been a big crane in its day, Jim?
Yeah, it was. It was a big crane in its day, and now, well,
No,
they
it's
don't
just
own cranes this size. Too small.
Too small. Right.
Yeah.
So in terms of work, what's your main sort of source of, what are you lifting mainly?
Oh, there's a big variety around here. Erecting buildings and people wanting to shift containers in the yard and things like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a lot of building work now. With the big houses they're building at places like Mangwai, there's quite a bit of work there.
Wow.
Tadano have been building cranes since 1956. Tadano is the name in mobile cranes, from 2-axle to 7-axle cranes, as well as track cranes. Tadano, a great choice of crane. So if you're looking for a crane, why not choose Tadano? Tried and true. To find out more, just go to allcrane.co.nz.
The Gecko Mini Crane, without riggers, designed to get into small areas and confined places, like stairs, passageways, things like that. Because they don't have a huge setup time, this saves money and time. Gecko, the crane that does all those little jobs in tight places. For more information, check out www.allcrane.co.nz. So Haggis, what you've got there is a replica of what's on the front of Jim's crane. Just talk us through this.
Yeah, I brought this along. I thought it might be handy. The Jim's crane has got a line pull. I'm going to guess of somewhere between 2 and 2.5 ton. So the winch can only pull somewhere big. So I'm going to guess 2.2. But it's rated to lift 13. So it can't lift 13 with one winch. So what it does is this thing here will show that. If we've got 100 grams here on the string, there's 100 grams per string,
Yep.
and I've got 400 grams here on 4 strings, and that's a fair ratio.
Yep.
So they match quite nicely because pulleys and strings are like well-behaved kinder kids. They share the weight, and they share any string taken out. So therefore, the more times the pulley goes round, the slower it goes and the more it can lift. And if I grab one of these and put 200 grams on this side, 200 grams will sink and outlift 400 grams.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is kind of lovely. And so the Archimedes said, give me a fulcrum and I'll move the earth, and if you give me a place to put my pulleys, I'll do the same thing.
Wow.
So that's what we use.
So this is the in term, this is the winch on the back.
You got it. Yep.
Of the
Absolutely.
crane.
Yep.
So every time it's turning, it's
Yep.
wow.
And so the lovely thing is the crane can lift more than the winch can.
Yes.
And so therefore the winch pulls a long way with a small load, and the hook comes up a small way with a heavy load. This little weight here is part of the anti-two block system. Two block means this pulley block comes up and smashes into this thing and all mayhem breaks loose. So what this does, this is a little weight that hangs down on a switch, and when this hook block comes up, this thing sits on it, the weight comes off, an alarm sounds, and sometimes the winch stops as well. So it's designed to stop injury and damage. Vital. Ready? Keep going. Okay. You there? Yep. Beautiful.
So Jim, this is an AEC. I think the number's written on here. If we have a look.
AV 760.
AV 760.
260 horsepower.
And the AV,
I'm not sure what it means.
all vehicles.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. The most economical way of turning good diesel into noise and smoke.
Oh wow. There you go, folks. Yeah. So this has got nothing to do with the crane. The crane's got its own engine, or is it?
No, it runs through the PTO.
Okay.
There's a tandem pump on the PTO and the gearbox.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're sitting up there totally reliant on that engine not conking out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the throttle linkage goes down through the middle,
Yep.
and there's power up there through slip rings, and I put in I've got a remote control to stop it.
There were some jobs I went to right in the Wops, and you couldn't get on the road and buy a pie, so I'd take a tin of Irish stew and put it on the manifold, or even on the demisters, with a bit of newspaper or a pair of overalls on the top. By the time you knocked off a smoker, your dinner was ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
Marvellous.
Yeah.
Love it.
We used to do that on our four-wheel drive tracks, just wrap it up in tin foil and stick it on the manifold. Yeah, when you got to wherever you were going, it was a nice hot pie.